Professor Nunes is a member of the National Council of Ethics for Life Sciences in Portugal. He is the head of the International Chair in Bioethics and the current president of the 16th World Conference in Bioethics. Concerning his professional activities, he's a full professor of bioethics at the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Porto, the director of the Center for Bioethics and the president of the Ethics Committee of this faculty. He's the director of the Master's and PhD course on bioethics since 98. A lot of other things to mention, but he is also president of the Regulatory Authority of Health, the first independent healthcare regulatory agency created in Portugal. And he was a member of the board of the European Health Management Association and the International Society of Priorities in Health. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this very gentle and nice invitation. I'm going to present the white book of the Portuguese National Council of Ethics for Life Sciences. This council is a body that gives opinions to the Portuguese Parliament and sometimes to the Portuguese government. But in this specific case, it was by insight of the council that we felt the need to make such a report, such a white book, so that people around the country and elsewhere might have some different guidance and opinions on these issues. The National Council of Ethics nominated a work group that included myself, Professor Maria Patrão Neves, that is also the head of the council. I'm a physician and professor of bioethics. She's a philosopher. Also, Inês Godinho, that is a lawyer and a jurist, and Miguel Rico, that is a psychologist. So we wanted to have these different backgrounds so that this opinion is also a plural one. This white book did not address some general issues and very important, even bioethical issues on AI, on artificial intelligence. They are very stringent issues, but it was not the focus. The focus was the life science and biomedical science, medicine, healthcare, public health, etc. So we didn't spoke about issues such as the impact of artificial intelligence on employment, for instance, that, as you know, probably half of the jobs will disappear with the full implementation of artificial intelligence. Of course, new ones will come in healthcare also. Of course, we know that. Some countries are even speaking of a universal coverage basic income for all due to this transition. Fortunately, in Portugal, we already have that since the year of 2000, but it is also a very important issue that must be addressed elsewhere and some other time. We didn't address also the importance of AI in the financial system, or in creative arts, or in the judicial system. In a conference I participated just a couple of days ago, I was told that in Brazil, first level courts are going to decide through AI. So the first level of decision will be helped or even totally decided by AI. So this is a major evolution. We, of course, did not address that because it was not the focus, and due also to economy of space and the time of the members. We did not also address, only very lightly, well, science fiction issues, let's put it like that, although the council is very optimistic regarding AI, if it is reliable, if it is used for the benefit of humanity. We did not discuss issues such as the development of sentience by AI, so subjective experiences, or even cybernetic personality, or even technological singularity. That means a moment in time where artificial intelligence will overcome humans in ruling the world, or ontological singularity, or the X risk, that is now an issue in bioethical literature. So the existential risk for humanity of artificial intelligence, those are issues that we did not address. We did address in the beginning some specific circumstances and characteristics of AI that make it different. So we began by stating that we felt and feel that AI is not just another tool. It is not just, for instance, in healthcare, just another instrument like, for instance, internet. It is more than that. It might even represent a change of paradigm. So this is our starting point. It may be, we are very careful with the words, a change in a paradigm. And why? Because AI has this, enormous capacity to make associations, to learn other AI systems, to teach other AI systems, to make representations of the world. In Spain, recently, AI presenter Alba Renay, I'm correct with the name, after a few days of learning, or even hours of learning, in the beginning, humans could tell it was an AI device, but after some hours or days, the general population did not knew that it was an AI presenter in the social media. So the capacity also to master and dominate human language. Yuval Harari talks about this very well. And this must be something to take into account, the possibility of AI not only of moving in the physical space, but mastering human life and therefore capturing the essential of human civilization in the long run. So these are all issues that we did not address, although of course they are very stringent and important bioethical issues. The report is divided in 5 main areas related to the areas of healthcare and research. In the beginning, we addressed the issue of human and research and biomedical research. Well, some issues were already mentioned previously, so I'll try to be very quick, but there are some special circumstances that we must be completely aware. We don't want ethics to be some kind of barrier to scientific development, but nevertheless, we should take them into account. First of all, the question of bias that was already mentioned here. As you know, artificial intelligence, and namely the ChatGPT and generative AI, goes to fundamental data that are already in the internet. So if the data are in the beginning with some sort of bias, of course, the conclusions will also be biased. It was already spoken about gender disparities, but just to mention that the recent report from the World Economic Forum states that inequalities in healthcare access between women and men are probably the main disparity in healthcare. And why? Precisely because the data are all from male specimens, both human specimens as animal specimens. So I'm not going to go deeper on that, but just to let you know that this is an issue. And of course, we welcome AI if it tries to overcome these problems, and not to make them even stronger and harder. So who develops science must be aware of that, so that AI is really accountable and reliable. Even from a social science perspective. It's obvious I'm a professor of bioethics, and I'm deeply concerned about that, because the primary sources in ethics nowadays, of course, is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Universal Declaration of Bioethics and Human Rights from UNESCO, the Convention on Human Rights and Bioethics from the Council of Europe, etc. But imagine that in the future, with this multipolar world, there are instruments, legal and ethical instruments, with very different backgrounds. What will be the consequence of ChatGPT and artificial generative intelligence when the primary sources do not have the core ethical values we believe in. So that's something for the future, but that should be also a concern. And then there are specific practical questions, even legal questions. For instance, a study, a clinical trial, a paper that is published entirely by ChatGPT, and in our white book we have a reference of a paper where one of the co-authors is ChatGPT, accepted by the journal. How can one claim for authorship? How can one claim for a patent? For instance, we spoke of organoids in the previous session. Well, if the program is completely developed by AI, how are these issues solved? Not to mention, for instance, questions related to plagiarism. I don't feel it is plagiarism, but some people do. Because ChatGPT goes goes deep in the ideas of third parties, and then the algorithm changes that, but the original idea was from a third party. Another important issue already mentioned is the lack of explainability of AI. So the black box phenomenon, if in science we do not explain how science was performed, how can we rely on science? We know for sure that in this moment, even before AI, there is already a replicability crisis. So it is already difficult to reproduce or to replicate science. This is already a question, and many scientists talk about it. But with AI, it will be a very different level. So scientific institutions, organizations, those who finance science, those who supervise science, ethics committees must be completely aware of this reality. In healthcare, and namely in medicine, this is a very important issue. As you know, probably there is no area in medicine or in nursing or in psychology or in any other area of healthcare where AI is not already a partner. We even speak of digital doctors, digital nurses, digital psychologists, physicians, co-pilots of artificial intelligence. This is the language now. So this is very complex, and we are really afraid in medicine that some areas, even some specialties in the long run might even disappear, namely everything that is related to image, radiology, pathology, dermatology. Well, they won't disappear. They do have the advantage of increasing access to healthcare on a global perspective. That is true if it is well used, but the critical judgment of specialists is necessary in some circumstances, if not in all of them. But when AI systems will be completely autonomous in these areas, it will be very complex to deal with, and even from a legal perspective regarding liability. Because liability presupposes guilty, and so performance above what is expected by a professional, namely a physician. But when the decision is made not by a physician, but by, for instance, a robotic surgery and a robot autonomous in surgery, where does liability stands? Where does the patient-physician relation stand? So, in medicine, we are very, very concerned with this issue in all areas of medicine. For instance, nowadays, the clinical setting and the clinical moment between patient and physician is already interpreted by AI. And AI makes already suggestions of diagnostic, of treatment, of the pathway the patient should follow. So this is complex because a physician must be autonomous, of course, and must be independent, but it will be very difficult to overcome AI suggestions. In the hospital setting, in healthcare management, in public health, of course, there are many concerns with contact tracing. We saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic in many countries, democracies and non-democracies. It is a very important, in this case, tool to help the logistic, the practical management of hospitals, of course. It will improve efficiency of the system, but nevertheless, there are specific issues to be addressed, namely regarding the digital use of information. We speak nowadays of the health wallet. For instance, the possibility of all personal data regarding healthcare is in the cloud. So not only the record of the hospital or of MRI, but any information, for instance, the one that you have in your watches. So this information will be gathered in the cloud, and this has very, very specific issues to be addressed. Also regarding education, I don't have the time. There are very important issues in education and in literacy for digital technologies. Education in universities, for instance, where students nowadays use the ChatGPT fluently. In September, we did an inquiry, and in my university, 90% of the students already used ChatGPT, but professors didn't. So this is something also to be addressed regarding fairness in evaluation, in tools to approach teaching of medicine and any other area, engineering, etc. And so these are issues that everyone, including universities, should address. To conclude, of course, we have a lot of recommendations. I'm not going to read them because you deserve to go to lunch, but only to point out 3 or 4 main values that we felt that should be at least should not be overlooked in these matters, namely the question of individual autonomy, personal liberty. It's fundamental. It's fundamental that these new technologies and AI serve humanity and not serve itself. There are different concepts to this reality: human in the loop, human on the loop, human in control, but in essence, what it means is that personal liberty by an individual person and by the collective humanity should be preserved, namely, of course, in healthcare. And these technologies, of course, have also very interesting applications. For instance, it is used in some countries to help patients. ChatGPT is used to help patients to give proper consent and to interpret what the document of consent says, because physicians did not have the capacity to do so. So it has many distinctive capacities, but again, the core is humanity and human values. Secondly, protection of individual privacy and personal data. These are different rights, but nevertheless, they are very close. And it is very, very important, namely in Europe, with the European health data space, that citizens, ordinary people, are aware that their data, personal data, namely regarding healthcare, is not used for other purposes. And so we must address the issue of consent to use this data, because otherwise a possibility, namely in these disinformation campaigns that we all know that are now in order, it is very, very possible, and it is a high probability that people will, for the good and bad, to evoke their right to be forgotten, meaning the right to have their data get out of the system. So if you don't want that, because you want that this data is used for humane and collective purposes, but with an ethical background. Thirdly, the problem of protecting vulnerable population, already addressed, but as you understand, AI, if is not well used, it might aggravate vulnerabilities. The problem of women, already spoken of the elderly, of the handicapped, of the digital excluded, because this is also a generational question. As we all know, younger generation all use very well these technologies and the others don't. And we also speak about intersectionality, meaning that vulnerability is not only a question of a vulnerability, but also a combination of vulnerabilities. For instance, being a woman, being a handicap, being old, etc. So these are also issues to be addressed. And finally, the issue of justice. Well, very well spoken of, so I wouldn't dare to address that. But we have this presupposition that justice is not something only of an individual state following a Rawlsian approach, but we spoke of a global justice, more from an Amartya Sen's perspective, that the benefits of artificial intelligence should be collective all over the world. And it means that in some sense, the application of artificial intelligence to medicine and healthcare should be almost global public good. So who researches on AI and with AI should have this sensibility for justice and for the good of humankind, and not only for specific populations. Namely, when we speak now in medicine about precision and personalized medicine that is driven to specific genotypes. I don't have, of course, nothing against it, but taking into account that these benefits should be for the overall population at a global level. So we end this white book with this recommendation, with this set of values, and with others that I did not have the time to expose, but with one driver, that we should keep in mind that humanity is what is all about. And for instance, in medicine, it's fundamental that physicians have more time to the patients, to hear them, to talk to them, to be sensitive to them, because otherwise it is easy to rely on AI systems when healthcare professionals don't do their jobs properly. So in one word, humanity is what is all about if you want a reliable AI. Thank you very much.